there.
Hi, good morning. Welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
So yesterday we had told you that we were going to go out to the auction house and we're going to look to buy some postcards potentially and some photographs. So you can see behind me here, there's probably 1,500, 2,000 8x10 movie production, press relief photos, headshots, and different scenes from different movies from the 90s, 2000s, some of it going all the way back into the 70s. So we're really excited to have picked that up.
Yeah.
And I think we got a pretty good deal on that. We also picked up probably over 1,000 postcards. So that'll be a nice thing for us to be able to go through and for me to get listed in the upcoming weeks and months. The thing that kind of stood out to me personally is the fact that it'd been raining, and this is an outdoor auction. So It's been raining for I think it rained almost 3 days straight.
Yeah, it was awful because we weren't able to get our walk in, and it was just cold and dark and miserable. Yeah.
So we get over to the auction house. Like I said, the previous 3 days have been raining. Open air auction. There's 5 trays of postcards that have been sitting in the rain. Very disheartening for me as a postcard seller to see all of the value having been destroyed in these items.
Right.
And some people still bought these wet postcards, and they weren't just a little wet. They weren't just damp. They were soaked, and the ink was bleeding on them. There was mold, literally mold, growing on these cards. So they haven't been wet for just a day or two. It's been a long time. And that kind of brought up the idea to us, in that if you've been selling on eBay or online for any duration, I'm sure you know, but if you are unaware, condition is the number one issue when selling.
It really is. Condition is key. And you really, really, really need to be aware of that. Especially, so we've been talking about making sure that you have the capital, that you have the ability, if somebody is going to be selling out of their inventory and they're going, hey, why don't you buy everything here? It is absolutely imperative that you look at the condition of the items. If they're getting out of their business, then it may be that the items that they have that are remaining are very picked over. There were a lot of jewelry lots that I passed up on yesterday. In fact, I didn't buy any jewelry at all because so many of the pieces in the lots were missing stones. They were worn, they were tarnished, and that's just not something that we're capable of selling.
Right. To begin with, we don't want to represent our business as being, dumpster damaged type items, right? We didn't pull the items out of a dumpster. We go and we source them and we buy them. So we don't want our customer to think that they're buying something that should have been in a trash can. The other part of that is that the customer has options. Most items that are available on eBay or other sales platforms, there's competition. So why would somebody buy the chipped dish when they could buy the unchipped dish? Why would somebody buy the rusty ring when they could buy the pristine ring?
Right.
There's not a customer demand for broken, dirty, chipped, cracked, crazed products.
Yeah.
There's not a market for torn postcards. There's not a market for otherwise damaged products. There just isn't.
Yeah. Stains on clothing.
Right.
Whatever the item is, people are expecting it to be in a condition that they can still utilize it.
Right. So, it's taken me personally a long time to get to this point, because I do have that feeling, like I talked about yesterday, is that when I have money into something, now I feel that need to extract that capital back and to just give up on that product and say, no, it's garbage. The only way I can do that is before I buy it. I can't buy it,
it's much
have
easier.
it in my possession, and then throw it away. It does. It breaks my heart because, and it's happened to me before. I'll go and I'll pick up a beautiful ceramic figurine with spaghetti, which if you don't know, that's like the really fine detailed. It looks like spaghetti in the ceramic, only to find out once I get it home that the ceramic is chipped, or it's missing a piece, or that you get it cleaned up and you put it in your light box and find that, well, there's this hairline crack that somebody glued back together, right? That's not something that customers want. And it took me a long time, way too long, unacceptably long time to get to this point. Because again, like one of the things we were talking about this morning is that we had an iPhone 7. Now, this is back when iPhone 7s were relevant. Clearly,
right.
You wouldn't be selling one today. But we had an iPhone 7 that was our daughter's, and she wanted to upgrade to the iPhone 8. And we said, okay, we will sell your broken iPhone. And we knew it was broken. We listed it as parts and repair. We put in the description that it was damaged. We put in the comment section, and back then you could actually see the condition box without having to dig for it. So as things stand right now on eBay, if you want to look at condition, you actually have to drill down through, especially if you're using the app. And people don't do that. They just don't. So needless to say, the person bought it. They got the phone for $50, which for a working phone would have been an incredible deal. The working phones at that point in time
were
over. I was going to say they were nearly $200.
Yeah.
So to get a parts repair phone for $50 was actually the market rate, and so the person was upset. They filed the item not as described, even though it was clearly described as not functioning and for parts. And we ended up eating the loss on it. Yeah. We ended up losing the phone and the cost of the product. So, that you think should have been, enough to set me straight, but it's not. It wasn't. And, that continued to persist. That, well, somebody's going to want this for some reason. No, they don't. They don't want a broken phone. I understand if you are...
Right. There are absolutely times that, like, yes, we have bought, laptops for parts, and then he's been able to, I get that it is absolutely something that is out there for a reason. We've gotten burned too many times.
Yeah. So
we are saying to ourselves more than anything that condition is so important. Right. It just really is. And for us, it's much easier to not make a buy that has too much brokenness in it, because then we do feel compelled to sell something that is less than, and then we just get burned. Too many times we get burned. We had a pin that it was silver, and it had a ship in it, and it had some enamel, and this thing was over 100 years old. And so the guy had asked a question about it, and we took even closer pictures of this enamel. The enamel was chipped. It was over 100 years old.
And it was stated in the condition, in the description,
in the title, everywhere.
Right.
And so the person bought it, and I'll be darned if he didn't complain and want his money back. And then we had to pay for shipping both ways.
Right.
Because we did everything within our power, but the item was not pristine.
Right. And it really is a fine line, because we've had items and we think that we're doing our due diligence, and only to recognize that we don't know the category. So one example we talked about today was that we had a Little Mermaid comic book from the release of the movie in 94
90s,
or something. Still in the original bag.
Mm-hmm.
We sold it $20 some.
And we put the condition was used.
No, right. We listed it as pre-owned
Mm-hmm.
because, again, yes, it's in the bag, but it is a pre-owned piece. I don't know comics. I don't grade comics. The person purchased it thinking that they were going to get it slabbed, get it graded. And when they took it out of the sleeve that we sent it in,
Mm-hmm.
decided that it was not going to be a 10, and they returned it. And we ended up losing the cost of shipping round trip.
Mm-hmm.
So on a $22 item or something, any profit that would have been there is now gone. Now, we did take the item and we sold it to somebody else that wasn't planning on grading it, and they're ecstatic and they left us positive feedback. But it wasn't because it was not in a grading condition, even though it was in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just because it's in the bag doesn't mean it's a 10.
Right.
So, those are the types of things that we're finding that we have to be better at.
Yes.
And just if you are new to reselling, if you are not used to the category,
condition is key.
So
it
so
really
critical.
is. I mean, if you have like in my jewelry, even if it's a named piece, if there's tarnish, if there's, wear to the stones, any of that is so important. There is such a saturation in the marketplace that they can just get it from somewhere else. If the gold plating is worn off and you can see the silver shining through underneath, nobody's going to want that, So as much as I'm like, damn, I'm so mad at myself for missing the fact that this brooch was missing a stone, and sometimes, like, obviously I look at every piece. Even I sometimes will miss it, and I'll pay for a piece individually and still it'll be missing a stone, and there's nothing I can do with it at that point. It's not going to be sold in our store if it's missing a stone.
Yeah. Because again, I do sell postcards. One of the things that I look at with postcards is the back. And it is completely acceptable to sell a postcard that's been stamped, that's been postmarked,
Mm-hmm.
that's been shipped, but I like a postcard that has nice crisp edges and, no writing at all, because
Mm-hmm.
that's something that somebody can use. Now, oftentimes we'll get postcards in, and a flea market or something, they will write on the back of it the price.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see right
rough.
here. I don't actually have one in front of me. I thought I might have one here. But they'll write in pencil on the back in the corner the price.
Yes.
Well, if I buy it for $1 or $2 or $4 and I resell it for $20, do I want my customer to see that I bought it for $1?
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
And then they're like, oh, well, it's written in pencil, so you can erase it. Except that you can't.
Right.
Like, you just can't, especially when it's been written in pencil 40
100
years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's not going to change my behavior. I'm still going to sell that postcard, but it's really one of those things that you have to think about. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be aware of, the books that are missing part of the cover, or even just missing a dust jacket. If you have, the same book and it's only a $15 book, but yours is missing the dust cover, well, that might take a couple dollars off the price. It might not be worth selling at this point. If you're missing the dust cover on a $15 free ship book,
Mm-hmm.
you might not be able to sell it at all.
Right, because the thing is, again, like, eBay is such a saturated, there are so many sellers on eBay, and it is such a saturated marketplace that, okay, yours might be a lower price, but there's 200 other books that do have the dust jacket. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you're buying something, especially if you're buying it as a gift, or if you're buying it for a special occasion, or just buying it to own it, you're going to want the best possible piece. You don't want to buy something that's already broken.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was talking to a vendor yesterday at the auction, and they were telling me that they are a collector and a seller of Matchbox cars. And at this specific auction, there were hundreds of Matchbox cars on the card in the original box, except that, again, it's been raining for days. All of the boards were curled.
Mm-hmm.
And he flat out told me, he said, I came because I wanted the Matchbox cars. Now that I see the condition of the packaging, I'm not buying them.
Yeah.
Because he cannot sell it, and he's not going to put a curled card into his collection. Now, if you're not a Matchbox collector, would you know that it's that important?
Yeah. If you're buying it for your kid who's going to rip it open anyway, then yeah, that's awesome. And you probably don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But you're probably not going to get the top dollar that you would from a collector.
Right.
If, you know.
Instead of a $15 card, it might be
$1.
A dollar card. Right. Another thing that we ran into last week at the auction house, and I was very excited to go because they had a bunch of 80s and 90s vintage toys in the original packaging. Unfortunately, it looks like they had been on display and they were all UV damaged. So what that looks like is yellowing on the clear plastic packaging. Yellowing so much that it's now orange, much like our video today, which I cannot fix and cannot figure out why we are orange and we look like Oompa Loompas. But, you know, when you're a hardcore collector, you do not want something that is off. You're going to pay a premium price for an 80s GI Joe. You want to get the product that is representative of that value of money.
Right. And we understand that there's going to be exceptions to this. This is not like the hard and fast. It's not, you know, just like everything else in our business, there is no blanket rule for anything. There are times when he does have a postcard that is well over 100 years old that might have some corner damage from the, you know, from someone putting it in a scrapbook or something like that. And there are times when he will sell that because of the intrinsic value of the fact that this, you know, or a dinner menu, you know, he's had dinner menus from the White House that maybe had a food stain on it. And the fact that it's,
I just had one last week. Actually, it was a NATO dinner with, you know, at the White House. It was the actual menu that would have been on the table. It had a spaghetti stain or something that was red, and it sold for $50. Again, you have to use your discretion. If you don't know the category, you have to learn about it before you buy into this stuff, because sometimes a little bit of damage is acceptable. Sometimes a lot of damage is acceptable, depending on what the product is. I've had some cruise paperwork, you know, ocean liner stuff from the 1880s that is literally falling apart and been able to command top dollar because of the rarity of it, because of the fact that it might be the only piece in existence. So, you know, learn your category, learn where the standards are. And try to learn that as quickly as possible. Like I said, I still struggle with it. I've been selling full time for 4 years. I've been selling on the platform since 2006, and I it's a hard thing for me to just say no, I can't list it. It does not meet the standards.
Yeah, no, it was. He was really, really upset yesterday when he went to go look at all those postcards, but they're moldy. Like, there's nothing we can do with that. We can't let that leave our house and go to some little old biddy who's, you know, allergic to mold. I can't in my heart of hearts, I just can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
So it just,
and it goes,
breaks your heart,
it goes across, you know, it's not just the way it looks, it's the way it smells. It's the way it presents. It's, you know, is the, on paper, is the color consistent? Does it have foxing? Does it have mold spots? Does it, you know, depending on the category, it all matters. It just depends on the category of how much that matters.
Right. And every single defect that product has got to be disclosed. So if you do decide that you are going to, you know, sell a piece of jewelry that has some wear because it's antique, right? There's times that I have sold jewelry that has wear. Then I take like a letter opener and point out exactly what I'm talking about, and I will put right in the title that it has wear, and then also in the description, and then also in the
Condition.
yeah, in the condition box there, and but still know that there's a possibility that you're going to get, somebody's not going to be happy with it. So just be aware.
Yeah. It
does
really
happen.
is. It really is adding a risk to the business that is, unfortunately, it is part of the business. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below what your experience is with selling items that maybe are less than perfect.
Yeah.
And what you do to avoid that, or what you do to, if you have these challenges with your customers.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Good luck to you out there.